Bienvenidos and welcome back to Puro Pinche Gol, the place we discuss all things USMNT y la selección mexicana. My name is Adrian. Joining me once again is my co-host Tocayo, Adrian. Adrian, what's good, man?
Hey, how's it going, dude? Out here, feeling the pain of leg day after the gym today, and almost trying to stay awake after those Mexico matches. Yeah,
Yeah, feeling the pain of leg day and the pain of two September friendlies from Mexico.
damn,
Um,
dude.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here to discuss today, man. Six things we learned. Mexico versus Australia, the first match, and then Mexico versus Uzbekistan, the second match. Two matches that ended up in a tie for Mexico, 2-2 versus Australia in Dallas, and then 3-3 Uzbekistan in Atlanta. Probably not the result Mexican fans, Mexican coach, Mexican staff players were wanting, especially against this opposition. But let's definitely get into it and see if there was any big takeaways. Before we kind of jump into the six things we learned, kind of a quick summary. The goal scorers for Mexico in the match against Australia were Raul Jimenez and Cesar Huerta. And the goal scorers for Mexico against Uzbekistan were Raul Jimenez Brace and the one, the only, Uriel Antuna, scoring in the 80th minute there.
Exactly.
So I mean, let's get into it, man. Where do you want to start? Good, neutral, negative? What do you think?
Let's start with the good thing, right? I think yeah, I think it's El Tri deserves that we start with the good thing because I don't really have that many good things. So all right. The one good thing that I saw in these matches is something that I wasn't really expecting to
Yeah,
see anytime soon. Actually, if you go back to previous episodes, we at least I have been vouching for not calling up this player anymore to just let him, settle down and go to and enjoy the sunset of his career as he tries to finish up strong in Premier League and then find his way back to either MLS or Liga MX. And I'm talking about Raúl Jiménez, RJ9. That I actually was quite surprised on these two matches. I wasn't really thinking that he was going to be the go-to striker for both occasions. As we expected, Santi Jimenez started against Australia, which I think still will be the case. This is the spot for Santi Jimenez to lose. Uh, and then Raul Jimenez came in and essentially saved Mexico again with that penalty kick. And against Uzbekistan, he played the entire match, all 90 minutes. And he was very participative, man. I saw him, you know, at a great form. It's been a while since we've seen him this active on the pitch, requesting passes, moving around, running to the edge of the pitch, playing as a winger, then facing out as a striker, playing as a post in the middle. I just think this is a phase of Raul Jimenez that we had missed during Qatar, and unfortunately after that nasty injury he suffered with Wolverhampton a couple years ago. So it's nice to see him, slowly but steadily getting better, getting into that groove where he might be able to find himself or find that Raul Jimenez that he was at the beginning of his career at Wolverhampton. If that is the case, then I mean, Santi Jimenez is going to have a very tough competition, especially for the next couple of years, right? If Raul Jimenez is able to stay like this, he is definitely a contender to be taken in consideration for Copa America. And it's just goes to, I think it's just I don't want to say a refreshing breath because this guy is not young. He's like 31 years old, so it isn't like we're following our own desire of having uh, uh, this rejuvenización, no, not rejuvenización, this I guess change of guard in Mexico, right? Um, and by him playing like this, keeping up with this level, it's difficult to make the case for, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be calling players above 30. You should only be calling players, with below 28 or whatever the age gap is. So it's nice to see that he ended a streak of 1,117 minutes without scoring with Mexico. That wasn't a penalty, right? Because he scored a penalty on the first
Mhm.
match of these two friendlies of this month, and he had a score before that with a penalty kick. I believe was maybe before Qatar, I believe. Um, but he was struggling out there for a while to find his way into a play and a score like he did today against Uzbekistan, which was a very cheeky goal, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, 3 goals in 2 games, one as a sub, one game, coming on as a sub. Good window for him. We've seen him kind of get rejuvenated ever since his transfer to Fulham, kind of get a second stint or second wake up call right in his
Win.
career. Second win, yeah, that could maybe you said rejuvenate his career here, and it's good for Mexico for sure. Mexico had for the last I don't know 10 years maybe they've had just like 15 years, maybe one striker that's always
Yeah.
or usually in their prime, right? If it's Carlos Vela, Chicharito was
Mhm.
not playing so well. If it was Chicharito, they didn't have anybody else at the time. So if Mexico can get into the point where they have two strikers that are at a high level, I mean, that'd be good for them, obviously, and good
Yeah,
for la selección.
definitely.
Um, so cool, man. So that was one of the good things we learned here. Um, I know we kind of discussed that a neutral, something that maybe not all the pundits, all the media are going to think is a neutral. They'll probably think it's a bad thing, right? But
Mhm.
you tend to see that these overall outcomes of these two friendlies, not necessarily a bad thing, not a good thing, two ties, but
Mhm.
I think there's a lot they could learn here and a lot that Jimmy Lozano could kind of take away from this, right? I mean, giving debuts to a couple of players, calling in new players that he hasn't before. And you playing formations that he hasn't before. So I think it was more neutral to the outcomes than negative. I'd say, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I don't see, as you said, like this isn't I don't really think this is a bad situation for Mexico, nor it is a good thing, right? It is just what it is. um I think we all have to acknowledge the fact that Jimmy Lozano is going to take some time for him to finally settle down, and start moving his pieces around, starting to do what he needs to do to achieve or to get that squad that he needs to make his vision of game style on the pitch happen. I am glad to see new faces like El Chino Huerta and Jordi Cortizo. I think these are two players that if they keep up the good work in Liga MX, we shall see him. Well, at least we shall see Chino Huerta hopefully moving along to a bigger team. Uh, we're maybe not a bigger team, but maybe to a team in Europe, and Jordi Cortizo keep on being the go-to player from Monterrey. I think it's also clear or safe to say that El Chiquito Sanchez, Eric Sanchez, needs to start on both matches. Whenever he jump on the pitch, you saw a significant change in El Tri's midfield. So I think it's time for Jimmy Lozano to start realizing that if he really wants to have that dynamism on the pitch, he needs to start putting players like El Chiquito Sanchez that can go up and down the pitch, and they are, he's small, but he can jump, he can shoot, he's not afraid of putting his body on the line for the team. So I that's what I think. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? This Jimmy Lozano is spending the time that he needs to just essentially have the or have the perspective that he's looking for. Because if we want him to be, if we want El Tri to demolish all of the freaking opposition that they face during Jimmy Lozano's tenure, then we are not necessarily going to see that, right? Our approach is wrong. It's time for us to take a step back, be patient with Jimmy Lozano. We don't need to be this aficionado insaciable that wants every single match to be a W, because we have to look at the other side, which is this is the first time in a long time that we have seen an El Tri squad to be this fluid. I really find it exciting that El Jimmy Lozano is injecting this specific DNA on the players, where they are like, listen, hey, if everything goes, if things get hairy, right? Uh, if things get messy, we are able to, you know, move around the pieces and engage in a way that we can either catch up to the score or even turn around it and win it. So I think this is something that we should pay closer attention to, and definitely give kudos to Jimmy for being this. I guess not necessarily like a maestro for making all of these changes, right? But being or because of he's implementing new techniques and new styles on a very aged El Tri that has been suffering from, you know, not so innovative coaches.
Yeah, good points, man. Give Jimmy time for sure. He'll be his. This was his first quad, right? I mean, the first quad he called
Yeah.
up, and
Hmm.
I think there was more positives than the negatives on this for sure. A lot to take away from this for Jimmy. Speaking of aging squad, one of the negatives that we talk about or we have to bring up here. Um, we don't really criticize him a lot because he normally plays well. He's normally one of Mexico's best player, but he had these two matches weren't his greatest, especially that last goal that he received against Uzbekistan. We're of course talking about the one, the only Memo Ochoa. Um,
Yeah.
how this being a negative, how does this look for Mexico at this point? I mean, nobody's even in at the point to be able to step up in Memo Ochoa's place, and when he has stinkers like this, received 5 goals in 2 games. Again, not entirely his fault. The defense was lacking as well. We'll get to that, but how much is this his fault, and how does Mexico go from here, man?
Yeah, this is a tough one, dude, because I don't think we can safely say there is a replacement for Memo Ochoa, you know, in the near or even, you know, midterm future, right? Luis Malagon hasn't I guess made the hasn't necessarily break into America as the, you know, solid keeper that they're looking for. Carlos Acevedo is essentially injured, and the likes of Toño Rodriguez and the rest of the keepers that are available aren't a solution for the long term, right? All of these might be, you know, band-aids that you can probably rely on, but how good or how much benefit you will get out of them, it's still a huge doubt. Um, I do want to say that this is one of those situations where, you know, we don't really give praise to Memo Ochoa because of his age. He's still playing at a competitive level and a competitive league. We give him a lot of kudos when he decided to go to Salernitana and not stay in America or go to MLS, which is great. But I think on these two matches we have or we got a good glimpse on, you know, his age. And what I mean is, this is, at least for me, this was very apparent that his age is starting to take a toll on him. And I mean this in the most respectful way, right? I don't think he's a bad keeper. All I'm saying is I think we are about to start witnessing his decline just because of, you know, natural things or natural state of him just getting older, right? If you look at all of the goals, we all know that Memo Ochoa struggles significantly with covering his first post. So against Australia, that was a, you know, go-to target for the Australian players during set pieces. That's how the first goal came to fruition. Against Uzbekistan, the last goal, I mean, it's all on him, man. Poor positioning, poor reaction, and these are just signs of him just getting older and being unable to have those reflexes in, you know, as sharp as they used to be, right? um it's a tough one, dude. I honestly think that he gets a lot of criticism from the media, that it's totally uncalled for, unwarranted. uh but this time around it's gonna be hard for me to, you know, stand up for him and say like, hey, well, actually, yes, I know that he has deficiencies, but he's the best keeper that we have around. I think these two matches have proven that we should maybe start looking into a, you know, phasing out of Memo, maybe not for the next year, but definitely for 2025, and maybe hoping to find someone for 2026. And just bonus, throw Achachi in here, man. That guy needs to go. Like, he's done. I don't even know why they call him up. I hope they don't call him up again. He sucked bad
Yeah.
against Australia, and I'm so glad he didn't play against Uzbekistan. He needs to
Yeah,
go.
I think we can safely say that he did himself no favors to be called up again by Jimmy. This was probably his one and only chance after having a decent summer with Dynamo and
Yeah,
there in the Leagues Cup and with MLS. But yeah, he looked way beyond his prime. Um,
horrible.
that needs us another negative here that kind of ties in with this. Like we said, Memo Ochoa wasn't entirely at fault for all the goals. There were a couple that were his fault, but I think El Tri's defense really, really, really
Yeah.
misses Cesar Montes in every match he doesn't
Oh.
play, and
Hmm.
there were just too many mistakes that you expect from players of of this caliber to not be making. Um, you want to kind of go into this a little bit more for us?
Yeah, no, man. I mean, I totally agree with you. It really baffles me how much Cesar Montes is needed for. I mean, well, how much El Tri needs Cesar Montes, right? It is like it's a day and night kind of situation where if he's on the pitch, the defense acts, a specific way, and whenever he's not, they just lose their mind completely. Um, to me, it's like Sepulveda, it's a good prospect for Liga MX, but I think this was his one and only shot to prove that he's a good contender for I guess at least to be like a fallback, uh, center back for the team. But I think after these two matches, I think Jimmy Lozano will be crazy to call him up again, to have like a second to be like a second string center back. It isn't like Mexico doesn't have any additional or other center backs to call up. Like you have Victor Guzman, who it's in really decent shape, but he didn't get called up because he's playing with the under 23s. So there's options out there that Jimmy Lozano can actually choose from. And even right now with his roster, he could have just moved Sepulveda and play Jesus Angulo as a center back. So there's options out there, but none of them are at the same level as Cesar Montes is, right? Cesar Montes understands El Tri. He's compatible with Johan Vasquez. So every single time he's not there, I think we're in for a, showdown of Mexico just getting a ton of goals. And granted, having Cesar Montes doesn't guarantee they're gonna keep the a clean sheet or they're gonna perform better defensively speaking. I think Mexico's gonna suffer with Jimmy no matter what. But not having Montes is definitely a red flag for this team.
Yeah, he definitely adds that calmness. He's really good on the ball. He's really good at distributing from the back, and he's really good at when set pieces. He's a tall guy, aerial threat.
Mhm. Yeah,
So he definitely missed, and just a lot of really childish mistakes. I think how you put it in this
yeah,
defensive showing from these two matches. I don't know if it was just because they were friendlies or what, or like you said, it could be just down to not having Cesar Montes there. You kind of feel that you lack the stability, and you get nervous, I guess. People not taking advantage of playing Sepulveda,
yeah.
but yeah, not a great showing for the defense for Mexico. Um, let's move on to neutral here, man, because I think we kind of went through all of our positives, our one positive.
Yes,
Um,
it's one.
in both matches, Mexico looked like it was always in a reactive mode, absorbing attack. They dominated possession in both games, but they did kind of shelter down and kind of were in reactive, where they just possessed the ball but not really doing much with it.
Hmm.
But this could have been you know a formation, right? That it's not entirely negative. This could have been a way that Jimmy chose to play. It shows that Mexico is able to adapt and change the game strategy. Uh, you know, they although they showed that they were unable to finalize key plays, there was also okay, we dominated possession. We didn't let the team have control of the ball. We had control of the ball. So where they lacked in some areas going forward, they were better in some areas in the midfield. Kind of just neutral all around. Formation wise, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you look at against Australia, as we predicted, he started with a 4-4-3. With Uzbekistan, he started with a 4-2-3-1, if I'm not mistaken. And that shows that he's able to mold the team according to the opposition, and then shift things around whenever, depending on the situation that he's facing. Right. I think this is a neutral because, as you clearly said, it shows that that they are able to be resilient on a match. But what I see as a counter for that, right? It's a we on these two matches we saw Mexico, going under or uh, losing for long periods of time during the match, and they have that reactiveness that we want. They have that fighting spirit. But what makes me, the thing that makes me wonder is what's going to happen when Mexico goes, ahead during a match, right? We know that they can react to, losing scores, but will they be able to capitalize on that, on going ahead during the match, or will they choke and then just essentially, you know, go down and lose the match entirely? So that's the only reason why I say it's a neutral, because even though they show grit and they are able to rally and turn things around, it leaves me with a lot of doubts in terms of will they be able to handle the pressure if they are, the I guess if they show up to a match and all of a sudden they're winning 2-0, you know?
Can they hold on to that lead, or
Yeah,
can they show
exactly.
grit and react to a being down 2-0 or 1-0 against greater opposition? Right.
Exactly.
Because
Hmm.
they were able to react back against these two teams. But what if they're pinned down against an England or a France or something? Can they come back and react that way? Um, yeah, question mark, question mark, question mark. We'll see.
A
Um,
question that we might get an answer during the October friendlies.
yeah, that's true. They will be
Hmm.
facing better
Hmm.
opposition in the October friendlies. The last point here, kind of a negative to close it up, unfortunately. Um, Not really breaking news, something that Mexico has always struggled with, at least for the last, I don't know, 20 years. Defending set pieces.
Oof,
Um,
yeah. That's a
you know, this
he,
time it looks like they also struggled, when they were countered. Um,
mhm.
how does Jimmy fix this? And obviously this is a negative for these matches, but like the second goal for Uzbekistan, um, just how do you fix this moving forward, man?
Ah, man. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Jimmy has to, make the decision whether or not he really want to spend time and fixing this problem, or going, pedal to the metal and saying like, you know what, I'm just gonna focusing on attacking as much as I can and score as much as I can, and essentially hope that the opposition shows up, or shows up or has a bad luck, right? A bad luck day, a unlucky day, I guess. um, because it's gonna be just uh, it's gonna be a mess. I don't think Jimmy is gonna be capable of fixing this problem just because this is not a club, so he doesn't see the players every week to work on those set pieces, on how to defend them, right, on how to prepare for them. So my suggestion would be maybe getting in touch with the coaches at the club level and asking them, hey, can you throw in some additional defending drills for Cesar Montes, for Johan Vasquez, for Victor Guzman, for all of these defenders, so they get used to it, right? So when they come back and train with El Tri, they are able to take advantage of those additional training sessions that they'll be taking. But this is not an easy. There's no easy solution for this. This is a big challenge that he's going to embark on. And then on top of that is today we saw that they also might continue to struggle when running towards their goal. So whenever they get encountered quickly, or at least if they show to be faster than the wingers, or I guess not the wingers, but the left back and the right back, Mexico's going to suffer a lot and significantly. So this is something that I think Jimmy Lozano can for sure improve on by just making a few player changes. uh, but the biggest question is, will he be able to put an end to that, unlucky streak of getting scored with set pieces, right? And on top of that is also I guess just biologically speaking, Mexicans are not that tall. So we're bound to suffer with set
Right.
pieces if we face tall opposition.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll like you said, we'll see how they do against taller, faster opposition in the October friendlies when they play Ghana and Germany.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
So those will definitely be true tests for Mexico, and be interesting to see how Jimmy builds his squad for those matches and reacts for those matches, having learned what he did from these two matches here, man. Adrian, the September friendlies for Mexico have closed. Have finally came to a close.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh, go to sleep, man. I know those were kind of already putting you to sleep, but as we wrap up here, brother, where can our listeners find us?
They can always find us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, hit like button, and turn on the notifications. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast on. Last but not least, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Puro Pinche Gol. We post stuff every now and then.
Yeah, be sure to let us know in the comments what did you guys take away from these games from Mexico. Were you guys as impressed with RJ9 as we were? And how did you think Jimmy fared? His first, convocado was his first team roster, official roster he called up. Any changes you would make going forward against Germany and Ghana for the next month's friendlies? We'd definitely like to know from you guys there in the comments. So yeah, Adrian, man, it's been another good one with you, brother. A lot to learn these two matches. So it's good to go through it and kind of just see what we learned. Right. So I'll see you in the next one, man.
Take it easy, boy.
See ya.